Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to my studio. First of all, big news. The first original of this story series, Poets Blues in Casa Azul, has been sold. So thank you, huge thank you to my patron. You are amazing. Prints are still available through my website. And I've got my other original girls hanging around. Big plans for them, but if something captures your fantasy, please reach out. Let's have a conversation. I'm so happy that Frida found a lovely and caring home. Now on to the story. Let me tell you about a time I learned a big lesson about subliminal and passive racism. Yay! Very early on in our courtship, my husband, boyfriend at the time, went out on a date to a Asian-themed Latin restaurant operated by white people up here in Harlem. For the sake of the story and to not get anybody in trouble, we will call this establishment Buddha's Tacos, because that's who she was. Oh, we went out to dinner. This was early on in our courtship, so we were newly sniffing. And when we got there, first of all, they had indoor-outdoor seating. Everybody sitting inside was white. Everybody sitting outside was anything other than white. We get there, finally get a table. Our server, white, paid a lot of attention to me, not a lot to my date. I get it, I get it. But very kind of rude, right? Later on, as we were walking back home, my date said, "Did you see that?" What? And then he proceeded to describe the evening to me from his perspective. And this is a wonderful case scenario. Well, not wonderful, but this is a case scenario where once you see something, once something is brought to your attention, it's very difficult not to see it anywhere, everywhere, elsewhere after. So as he was describing the night in retrospect from his perspective, when it was time for the drinks, the server only took the order from me. When it was time for the food, they only put it in front of me. 2 plates, me. Didn't even acknowledge him at all. That's kind of weird. There was a moment with the manager where somebody outside on one of the not white tables was making a bunch of noise. Manager had to go out thing. 5 minutes later, another table full of little white girls screaming, cackling, laughing up the storm, making more noise inside than the guys were outside. Nothing. When the bill came, it was set in front of me. My husband, boyfriend at the time, very politely, very gentlemanly, offered to pay the check. Super fine gentleman. Put his card down, waited, nothing. Set the little book thing up, a few minutes, waited, nothing. Held it up in the air, 2 minutes, nothing. I grabbed it, server's right there. I don't remember her name. She was family. Paid, ran the card, set it back in front of me. This does happen a lot to a lot of people. And he was describing to me how invisible he felt, how isolated he felt. And thus began our conversation on race, which continues to this day. Being in an interracial relationship, it's just a basic element of it. And I am continuing to learn. It is an ever-evolving conversation, and every day I'm learning new things about my blind spots, about more things to learn, and about just the little small, minuscule microaggression things that happen day to day. So this was a very formative conversation in our early relationship. With request, I'm going to try to visually interpret that as best as I can from this perspective. Let's see how we do. So as always, working with my usual suspects, my acrylic paints, red, yellow, blue, black, white, 3 brushes, 2-inch, 1-inch, little pointer sister, and my favorite girl, Lady Palette Knife. Now, not to discredit Miss Buddha's Tacos, she did have some very lovely atmospheric lighting. So I think to start, I'm gonna give some homage to that. Going with this nice, lovely red, right? Nice, bright red. And I don't know, it was a date, so I don't recall any red velvet curtains, but when I am feeling my fantasy, usually in the back of my head, there's some red velvet curtains hanging around. So I think I'm just gonna start in a nice up and down, long, slow series of strokes. Just filling my canvas up. Just a light wash of red. Using my 2-inch brush with some lovely red paint on it. Again, not trying to cover up an entire coat, just throwing a little bit of this red up and down on this nice paper canvas. Paper canvas. And I'm not gonna knock it. She did have some really great lighting in there too. So I think I'm gonna use that same brush, not even cleaning her off, just going right into the yellow on top of that. And I'll throw some yellow up in there down too. Just kind of randomly deciding where my focus of light is. Got a lot of little candle votives up in there. Now I'm not blending these colors too aggressively. I'm letting them lay on top. But they do have some moments where they start to blend in a little bit. I believe orange is a very meaningful color in Buddhism. I think it's supposed to symbolize wisdom or discipline or something like that, which is a little ironic given the scenario. So I think creating this natural little bit of orange with just letting my 2 colors, my red and yellow, dance together on the paper rather than blend, 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 then apply. Throw some more red in there too. A lot of this nice kind of fiery orange business that we're playing with reminds me a little bit of marigolds as well, which is so interesting. It was a Latin Asian restaurant in Harlem, and the only staff I saw there that wasn't white were like the busboys. Let's throw some orange in there. Again, this place was really super cute, so I hope that we just caught them on a bad day. This was also quite a few years before the pandemic, so she might not even be around anymore. Has anyone checked in on Miss Tacos lately? Oh my god, I haven't had my microphone on this whole time. Oops. Sorry if the sound quality is bad. But to reiterate, in case you didn't hear it well, just throwing some arbitrary colors up here, but still paying attention to the shapes, to the angles, creating the sense of that sort of a dreamlike crowd of people floating around. And I'm coming in with this purple to throw a bit of shadow, but the point I was making was, since I can really only tell this story from my perspective, I'm going to take that in a literal sense and give you my view from my side of the table. And with loving respect of my subject matter, it's going to be right dead center. I think I'm going to put a little bit of shadow down here with my table. Again, just keeping a lot of things very vertical today. I'm feeling very vertical today. Letting these colors blend. Look at these very interesting conversation of colors going on down there. Letting these colors find moments where they want to blend, where they want to stand apart from each other. Nice. We got some purple up here in the rafters too, coming down. There's just some dark purples kind of coming down here and there. Yeah, nice. So I'm switching over to my little pointer sister, right? My baby girl brush. And I'm mixing up a little bit more of that red, yellow, and blue. But I want to get a nice dark brown for this. So I'm going to add a little more blue to her. And you know what? Thematically appropriate. Just the tiniest bit of black. Red, yellow, blue, and just the tiniest bit of black. A nice, dark, rich brown. Get my baby girl brush nice and wet so she flows a little more like ink. Let's shape out my table, yes. That's the edge of my table. Coming around there, yes. And we got our chair behind her. Not going for too much realism in this painting. This is more of a memory, like a dream. She's a little more aloof, more of suggestions of things. Solid fact. I'm gonna get that nice dark rich brown on my baby girl brush, and then I'm gonna come back into all of this lovely light background personages, and just sort of throw on a few little notes of detail, a few little dark lines, just to, again, not directly define, but more insinuate the people in our restaurant. Just a few little details on our table. I feel like I remember it was a margarita night. I'm really loving what all these colors are doing together. She's cute. Maybe I'll throw just a few little highlights of this extra color. This lovely kind of purplish brown I made on accident by adding a little white into that super, super dark brown. We need a little bit of chips and guac for an appetizer. Now, I simply cannot do a painting without her. So it's time for Miss Painter's knife. And I'm going to go back in to the red and yellow. I'm going to mix them up a little bit to get a nice bright orange. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little more yellow than red. So I want her nice and vibrant. And I'm going to get a good amount of that on my palette. Knife. Okay, let's start making bold choices now. All right, it's time for some bold choices. Let's go. And I think just to, envelop him a little bit more, I'm gonna go back to some of this nice kind of tans and pinks and throw a little bit more of that around up top. I feel like it's closing in from all sides. I might even transition those pinks up into some more of these oranges up top by adding a little more of that red, maybe a little more yellow each time I go to put a little more on my brush. Like that. all these leading shapes. And I'm gonna cap them off with my lovely painter's knife. Maybe a bit more orange, maybe a bit more red. And yeah, I think that's it. I know I didn't talk a lot during this. I feel like there's only so much that I can speak to with regards to situations like this. But I did create, or try to create, a beautiful silhouette of the most handsome guy in the world. And as always, he is the main subject matter of the piece, wherever he goes. So, love you, baby. Thank you for the continuing education. If you enjoyed this, please tell me a story. Let's create something together. Prints are available on my website, and stay tuned for the next one. Stay creative.